it's already May, the May meeting of Indianapolis Ambassadors. On a lovely day, it's a little cool, but you know, it's not raining, so we're good. I want to thank you all for joining us. We have a short presentation we're going to give you, and then we're going to take a tour and walk this beautiful street and talk to Ethan, who's in charge of all the beautiful things along the trail. So a couple people, I just like a couple of people to talk about ambassadors, about what you like about ambassadors. I'm not going to make everybody talk tonight, but if you'd like to say something about ambassadors and why you like being part of our group, this would be your time. Can I have a couple volunteers? Sally?
I'm Sally Dietzler. I'm the hospitality director on the board, and mine is mainly to make you feel welcome. I should normally call you before you get to this first meeting, but I've been traveling. So, and what I like about Indy Ambassadors is I moved to Indianapolis the first time in my life about 18 months ago, coming up to 2 years now. And it has been the best way to get to know the city, to meet really interesting and nice people, and to do interesting things. And I like the volunteering as well. So I just think the fact that we do volunteering at events, but also social events and get to know people. So that's what I like.
Great job, Sally. Would someone else like to talk about ambassadors? Sherry, can I put you on the spot?
Sure. Ambassadors is one of my passions. I was just telling someone about it today. It's an opportunity to get involved with the city in all different kinds of capacities, and there's something for everybody. And I really like the fact that you can be as involved or as not involved as you want to be, and it can flex from period to period. So I think besides volunteering and learning about the city, it's also really nice to spend time with such a wonderful group of people.
And so for those of you that are kind of new to ambassadors, I think one of the beauties of ambassadors is, you can volunteer for as little or as much as you want. If you have an inclination to volunteer for a certain kind of event, you can do that. If you find you're busy and you can't volunteer for a while, you can go right back into volunteering. We do some events that we volunteer kind of in mass, and we're going to talk about those tonight, which are really fun for everybody to get together and really be an impactful part of what somebody's trying to do here in Indianapolis. Chris, I'm going to let you go ahead with the slideshow, and then we're going to take our tour on this beautiful street.
Okay, so thank you, Mark, for being our slideshow.
Doing a great job.
So we're going to jump into volunteer news. So I'm going to advance here. And the first thing we have here is a volunteer story about the 10th year Women Build. And Sonia here was kind enough to share the story with us. You can tell us a little bit about it.
Hi everybody, I'm Sonia Seibert. I'm actually fairly new to Indy Ambassadors. This is my second meeting. But I've decided I just wanted to get involved and volunteer much more this year. I just returned to Indianapolis 2 years ago, or a year and a half ago. And one thing that I've always wanted to be involved in is Habitat for Humanity. I was actually supposed to join a team with some other women at work, and that fell through. So I sent a couple of emails to Habitat. I was really passionate about the Women Build, and this is the 10th year anniversary. So helping to families get homes that are affordable. So our day on the build was April 15th, which was really cool to help with some affordable housing, learn a little bit more about construction. It was really cool. We had some professionals in the industry that were also volunteers that helped us learn how to actually build the frames. It's not a PR stunt. We actually put in a lot of work and built all of the interior panels for 2 houses. So pretty cool opportunity.
Great. Awesome, thank you.
Very exciting.
Yeah.
Woohoo! That might be a fun group activity one time.
Yeah, for sure. Absolutely.
The lady to hook us up. That's
Yeah. So we met April 15th as well, right? Downtown at Monument Circle, and it was Alice in Wonderland Adventure Day. So several of us dressed up, and it was a lot of fun. So we have some pictures here to share with you guys, and hopefully you'll be able to make us join us in some other fun adventures that we have.
Alice is showing you the picture.
Yeah.
Yes, he dressed as Alice, and he looked great. He had a great
He
dress.
did.
Great
Yeah.
He and the other Alice
He
look
and
like
our
twins.
Alice.
I didn't ask you, did you shave your legs for that day?
but not totally.
No, you had those tights on, right?
Did anybody on our group win prizes?
Well, we all finished. We'll put it that way. It was a treasure hunt on your phone, and they gave you clues. And then you went to certain areas and you answered questions, and it was very interactive. We
more
all
than
had a
100.
great time.
But we had fun, I think. Did you have fun?
And finally, we have some news here about our president. She got engaged.
Congratulations.
Super excited. We like Christopher a lot, and so we're hopefully
We've approved, yes. We voted and we
got the
approved.
ambassador seal of approval.
Yeah, I'm lucky. He's a great guy.
We're going to move on to volunteer opportunities. These are things that are coming up in the next month. And warning, we really want you guys to sign up for things. So if you can get your phones out and get ready to scan some QR codes, that would be really awesome. Or this computer's going to be around. We can get you signed up if you see something that you can participate in. We're really doing a hard push to get some people signed up for some of these events. So here they are. So we had the 500 Festival. That's ongoing. That's through the end of May. So if you haven't, if you want to be involved in that, there's a parade. There's the mini marathon. You're involved?
Happy pickup.
Yeah, and Ken's involved, and several of us have done some of the marathon stuff. Okay, so this is the big one. We've been asked by the IU Natatorium to support the National Swimming Championship that's coming up June 27th through July 1st. They have asked us, Indianapolis ambassadors, to be the ushers for the events. There's 10 different sessions that we want you to sign up for.
Let me add something. I know when we went to the natatorium, they talked about how you had to volunteer 3 times for 3 events or 3 times. You don't have to do that for this. So even if you can just get one night or whatever, it's not that 3-time commitment. So I would like to have a lot more participation so that we can say that we really helped them. We had a great meeting there. They were so kind to us. I'd like to be able to show them, how much we appreciate what they did for us by helping them.
It's a really cool facility with 3 Olympic swimming pools and the diving boards.
And they feed us, they give us all kinds of stuff. It's a beautiful place. So if you can sign up for one, please do.
There's free parking as well, and if some of you are still working, there's lots of morning shifts, like from 7:30 to noon, that we really have a lack of people participating in that. But see if your company that you work for doesn't give you the time off for volunteerism, and that would be very helpful. I'm hosting 4 of the morning shifts, and Chris has 1 or 2 evening shifts that a lot of people have gravitated to that. So I'm the advocate for the morning shift, and hopefully your employees will allow you to use that time for work credit as well.
All right, so June 3rd is Earth Day Indiana at Garfield Park. The Indianapolis ambassadors, again, have been exclusively invited to serve as attendants, which, so we would be the ones who sit at the edge of tents and then help visitors, come in, answer any questions that they may have, direct them to the exhibitions. There's 110 vendors and they need our assistance. So if you can sign up for that, that would be really appreciated.
That's the Earth Festival.
Earth Day, Indiana.
And then we had our own tent last year, or our own table within the tent, and we kind of hung out and talked to other people, signed people up for ambassadors. As Chris talked about, all the other vendors that are there, there's all kinds of cool stuff, free stuff, meeting all kinds of people. I think it's just a great event. Larry hooked us up last year, we're hooked up again this year, and I'm just really proud to be part of that. You get a t-shirt, right?
Yes.
So, it'll be the 1st of June, the weather will be beautiful, so try to do that one as well.
What else can you do on a Saturday afternoon but go to a festival and have a picnic and get kind of reimbursed for that? That's our only day of the year that we recruit for new ambassadors, so it's really important that we have a good showing and we represent well.
Can I make an announcement?
Sure.
Guys, I'm thinking about doing our June social at Birdie's. And I wanted to let you know, some of you know Fran, what's her name? Fran O'Rourke. And I wanted to let you know that she has moved to Wisconsin. Her daughter got married and now she is a grandmother, and she lives 20 minutes away from her grandchild, and she is thrilled to death, and she is welcoming any visitors who want to come visit her. So I just wanted to let you know she hadn't fallen off the face of the earth. That's what happened.
My name is Ethan Hochstein. I work for the Indianapolis Cultural Trail, a legacy of Dean and Marilyn Glick, which is what we are standing on. And I'll kind of discuss the history and all that. But my job specifically with the trail is I'm the director of horticulture and landscape. So that means anything, I kind of describe it to like friends and family as anything you can like see or touch on the trail. It's not my job to help get it fixed, repaired, improved, beautified, whatever. So I bring plants as the specialty, but my job is kind of morphed into hardscape, lights. We take care of lights, signs, pavers, underground utilities. Also, we don't take care of the utilities, but when that gets impacted, we have to be involved. So that's kind of what I do specifically for the organization. We're coming up on our 10-year anniversary since it's the completion date. Everybody we've been finding has different dates as to when it was done. But the first section was done on Alabama Street. That was almost done about 13 years ago at this point. But the 8 miles as it is now, brought a little map to help show everybody. So orange line is ours. For those who aren't familiar, it's more of like a hub and spoke. We get a lot of questions like, where does it start? Where does it end? It doesn't really do that. I had a friend who lives in Denver, and they moved. They had a friend who was living in Denver, like, oh, we call it the Trail to Nowhere, which I thought was a funny way to describe it, but it is kind of true, right? So it's just kind of it's just all about connection. You're not trying to get to point A to point B. I mean, you are, but it's really up to the individual, right? So you have this big hub right here, and then the 2 spokes, Virginia Avenue and Mass Ave. Soon to be Indiana Avenue. We're expanding down there. And then South Street as well, so there'll be another connection down there. But it's 8 miles total, 5 acres of gardens and space and surface area that I take care of, that we take care of. And then, fun facts around. It's probably most recognizable either by the lights, we'll really notice the candlestick lights, or this kind of hexagonal diamond paper pattern. So both of those things were very intentional when the designers were designing it to do wayfinding. So you don't have to be looking at a map, you don't have to be looking at your phone. These 2 will guide your way. The only 2 parts of the trail that is not true is actually down here, and we'll see this at the end, over through the American Legion Mall. This section right here, this little jog. At the time, the trail was a pretty fresh idea, pretty new idea, and the decision to keep the historic concrete of the American Legion Mall trumped the idea of the paver pattern. So the pavers stopped there, and the only other spot they stopped is about 142 feet in front of the Conrad on Washington Street. So there was kind of miscommunication and a couple extra promises made. When the trail was getting built in the Conrad, it kind of both got approved at the same time. So there was a compromise made. So that, like I said, completed in 2010, 10 years ago, so 2013. It was all raised privately, so I guess I'll tell kind of the story of it. So why is it called the Cultural Trail? It's called the Cultural Trail because back when the idea was being formed, there was a big push from the city, as with many cities, for cultural districts. And so the entity responsible for helping foster these cultural districts and help give them a lift beyond the city's plan was the Central Indiana Community Foundation, CICF. The president at the time was Brian Payne. Brian Payne was like, okay, so I've understood the story. I've not talked to him personally, but he was basically kind of doing like a little market research. So he brought his daughter downtown, and he's like, let's go explore Mass Ave, let's go see Virginia Avenue, let's go see the wholesale district, let's go over to White River State Park, and just kind of spend the day, father-daughter. And while they're going throughout the day, was very frustrated because geographically these spaces are very close, which we know now. But at the time, it felt very, very far. You had to get in your car, you had to drive, you had to park, you had to go walk. So he's like, wouldn't this be great if there was a Monon that would go through, the Monon being the rail trail north of town, the Monon style downtown kind of bike path to connect the Mass Ave Cultural District, Virginia Avenue Cultural District, the Wholesale District, Indiana, White River State Park, and then there's actually a sixth one, Broad Ripple. After many talks and lots of situations, Brian Payne ended up meeting up with Gene Glick, and Gene was looking for a project that he could give back to Indianapolis, where he was able to start and build a real estate empire at this point, one of the largest real estate companies in the country. So he wanted to give back to St. Louis, and he specifically, like the way the original meeting went, I heard, I did get this firsthand from somebody, but Gene was like, Indianapolis needs like a gateway arch, or we need something big, like we need something that distinguishes us. And they said, okay, how about it? Brian said, how about instead of an arch, we do this project that I'm thinking of. And Gene's like, actually, yeah, I really like that idea. Let's go for it. So that is how we kind of got the cultural trail to connect the cultural districts, a legacy of Gene and Marilyn Glick. They weren't willing to give the naming rights straight up. It wasn't going to be called the Glick Peace Trail, which it was originally supposed to be called. That's what Gene would have preferred. But they didn't think that that was quite right on such a large footprint of the city to have kind of that naming. So the compromise was made to have the Glick Peace Trail, which are these two blocks, specifically kind of, I wouldn't say the compromise, but the give and take, and that was seen as a good opportunity for both groups. So the two blocks we're going to walk are designed to be a little bit more elevated, a little bit more impactful. This is the only part of the trail. This is the only part where it goes down the center of the road. They bricked both sides of the road. They added these lumineers, as I call them. And a lot of that focus was, one, to kind of put a capstone and kind of give acknowledgement to the original funders. I should also name that too. They gave the original, why that was important, the Glicks, where they gave the original $15 million to basically like proof of concept and say, that's kind of what gave the seed funding for the rest of the people to come by. So everyone was like, this is a cool idea, cool idea, cool idea. And then everyone's like, oh, well if they chipped in 15 million, I can chip in, I'll chip in, I'll chip in. So that cascade started to happen, so that's kind of why they got the, I don't want to say naming rights, but the biggest recognition of all the funders. If you guys are down, we'll just kind of stroll down through here, and I'll point out a few kind of interesting, I'll lean more horticulturally here, because that's kind of my lane. But if you guys have questions otherwise, please let me know, and we can kind of talk about that too. But we'll just kind of stroll down here with the majority of kind of the spiel. I just thought I'd give a little bit more context to the luminaries specifically, because they are pretty unique. So this is Albert Einstein, for those who can't see the board. So there'll be a little placard describing kind of their contributions, why they were chosen for this. And then also there's a timeline, and then the highlighted or like the emphasized thing is kind of, I forget what they call it, but it's the
Pinnacle.
it's like the pinnacle, or like the year that like they kind of made their biggest contribution or whatever. So
Watershed moment.
Thank you. thank you.
Good reading.
And I've actually never noticed that this one says E equals MC squared. So I assume the other one's gonna have some other little cues or indications as well. But these were all picked at a very different time. So back in like 2000, whenever that would have been, 2013, 2010, when they're deciding these things. We get this question a lot now, but like they're like, how did you pick these people? It's a very different process. It was not picked. It was not a public engagement process. It was just it just was a group of people who said these are who we're going to pick. So it's just kind of.
Best ideas came
Just
from him
tell
while
him
he was
it was
riding a
over
bicycle.
What's
there
that?
you go.
While he was riding a bicycle.
That is true. Yes.
So
Yes.
maybe that's one reason.
Maybe that is one reason. I don't know what the reasons were, but that could be. But I think it's just interesting to take that kind of like we host a lot of different groups with a lot of different focuses. So when public art groups come, they're like, well, how'd you curate this? What was your team like? And I was like, well, it was just different. It wasn't. We didn't. They didn't. So anyway, so we'll keep moving down, like I said, but. Just some other things to take note of. The other thing Nikki noticed that I have never noticed doing all of this, the watershed moments are in chronological order. So there's a little detail for everybody. But the other thing I was going to say is like, getting a lot of echo here. It was very intentionally put next to the American Legion Mall and all the war memorials as well. So we kind of mentioned that he wanted to have that when they were deciding to put it here. For those, I've seen before pictures. I think I have any printed out. I might have some printed out at the office that I can show you guys. But this was a very, very different street for those who remember it. So it was kind of, people were surprised that this was going to be the crown jewel of the trail. But it turned out really well, and now we have all these. It's very different area. So.